Welcome back. The rare and valuable coins. Today, we're diving deep into the world of Washington quarter dollars. But not just any quarters. We're talking about the ones that sold for thousands of dollars at auction, so let's get started. First up, let's begin with the Washington quarter dollar 1966. This coin is special for a number of reasons, but first, we'll dive into the significance of this particular year and why collectors are so interested in the 1966 variety, especially when it comes to those with lamination damage. The Washington quarter dollar, which has been in circulation since 1932, was introduced to honor George Washington, the first president of the United States. It's known for its iconic design, featuring Washington's portrait on the obverse, created by sculptor John Flanagan. The reverse side traditionally depicts an eagle, a symbol of strength and freedom, which represents the national identity. However, in the 1960s, as the coinage system in the U.S. underwent significant changes due to inflation and the need for more cost-effective minting, the Washington quarter began to see various errors and misprints that would eventually become highly prized by collectors. In 1966, the U.S. Mint was under pressure to produce more coins to meet the demands of a growing economy. The country was in the midst of the post-World War II economic boom, and with it came an increase in the circulation of coins. During this period, errors started to creep into the minting process due to rushed production. The lamination error, which we will talk more about later, was one of those mistakes. A lamination error happens when a thin layer of the coin surface peels off during the minting process, often caused by an issue with the metal strip used for coining. This flaw gives the coin a distinctive, often streaked or peeling appearance, making it stand out from standard issues. The design of the Washington quarter is iconic, but the appeal of the 1966 Washington quarter with a lamination error comes from its rarity and the unique way the error affects the appearance of the coin. The obverse features a finely detailed profile of George Washington, which remains remarkably well preserved on most coins, even those with lamination damage. But it's the reverse side where the damage is most visible, often causing a noticeable change in the coin's surface. Collectors who appreciate. Next up. Now, let's take a look at another fascinating Washington quarter dollar, the 1990 variety, featuring the large date design and a D mint mark. While this coin may seem like a more common issue at first glance, it has generated considerable collector interest in recent years, especially when found in good condition or with specific characteristics. The Washington quarter dollar, as we discussed earlier, was designed to honor the first U.S. president, George Washington. But let's take a deeper look at the 1990 version and why it's so interesting to today's coin collectors. The 1990s were a transitional period for U.S. coins. The country had experienced inflation and changes in the economy in the preceding decades, and the 1990s saw a shift in how coins were designed and produced. The U.S. Mint made several design changes in the late 1980s and early 1990s to streamline coin production and make it more cost-effective. The Washington quarter itself had undergone several design changes by 1990. The large date variety in 1990 was a result of a redesign in how the digits on the coin were punched into the die. In this specific year, the large date variant stood out because the numbers in the year were noticeably larger compared to the small date variant that was produced at the same time. As with all Washington quarters, the 1990 version features the familiar portrait of George Washington, designed by John Flanagan, on the obverse. The reverse features an eagle, a traditional motif for the U.S. quarter. But what makes the 1990 Washington quarter special is its mint mark, the D mint mark, which denotes that it was struck at the Denver Mint. The 1990 large date with the D mint mark is considered one of the more valuable versions of the Washington quarter from this era. The condition of the coin significantly affects its market value. A Washington quarter in good condition, such as the one we're focusing on today, can typically range from $22,000 depending on its specific wear and the demand at the time of auction. In terms of mintage, the 1990 Washington quarter saw a production run of more than 450 million coins, with the vast majority of those being the standard issue. However, it's the large date with the D mint mark that catches the attention of collectors. The reason is simple. Even though the mintage was high, this coin has developed a reputation for being a slightly harder to find variety among Washington quarters from the 1990s. For collectors, especially those who focus on specific years and varieties, this coin represents a notable example of the ongoing minting evolution of U.S. quarters. With the coin being relatively affordable, it has become a popular choice for both beginner and advanced collectors. While the market value of the 1990 Washington quarter is not astronomical, it is still highly valued among those who are building collections of U.S. coins from the late 20th century. In today's auction market, you can expect to see good condition 1990 Washington quarters with the D mint mark priced anywhere from $24,000, with well-preserved examples commanding higher prices. The auction results will vary depending on the condition, and if a particularly rare or high-grade example surfaces, prices could rise to the $30,000 range. To wrap up, the 1990 Washington quarter with the large date and the D mint mark is a coin that holds strong value for collectors, especially those interested in the nuances of U.S. coinage in the late 20th century. With its historical significance, unique design features, and relatively accessible price point, it's a great addition to any collection. Next up, the 1979 Washington quarter dollar is often overlooked by casual collectors due to its relatively recent mintage, but when it comes to error coins, things take a drastic turn. The 1979 large date quarter, especially with the D mint mark and featuring an error, stands out as a coin that commands attention in the numismatic world. Though it's not as rare as some of its older counterparts, this particular version of the Washington quarter has gained significant collector interest due to its striking error, which makes it an intriguing and valuable piece. The Washington quarter dollar was first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. It replaced the earlier Liberty Head design and has since become one of the most recognized and beloved coins in U.S. currency. The 1979 Washington quarter falls within a specific period in U.S. coin history, where several variations of coin designs were made, each having its own unique characteristics. By 1979, the United States Mint was producing quarters at a significant rate. The coin was minted at several locations, including Philadelphia No Mint Mark, Denver D mint mark, and San Francisco S mint mark. As with many coins from the late 20th century, most were produced in relatively high quantities, so naturally, many collectors may dismiss coins from this era. But error coins like the 1979 large date variant have increased in importance due to their rarity and the added value they provide in today's market. The design of the 1979 Washington quarter dollar is instantly recognizable. On the obverse, it features a bust of George Washington, designed by John Flanagan. Washington faces left, wearing a military-style coat, and the inscription "Liberty" arches above. Below Washington's portrait, you'll see the date 1979. The reverse features an eagle with outstretched wings, perched on an olive branch and clutching arrows. The eagle is facing left, with the inscriptions "United States of America," "E pluribus unum," and "quarter dollar." In the case of the large date error, the number 9 in the year 1979 is noticeably larger compared to the regular small date variant. The large date feature is often considered a mistake or an overproduction from the mint's die-making process. This error was quickly noticed, and the small date variety became the more common version. As such, the large date 1979 Washington quarter with the D mint mark is a desirable find among collectors. What sets this coin apart is the error mark that many collectors seek, a minting defect on the reverse side, often noted as scratches or other forms of damage from the minting process. The reverse side of this specific coin displays noticeable scratches and damage, likely caused by improper handling during the minting phase. However, these imperfections are actually what make this coin even more intriguing and valuable. The value of coins with minting errors, such as scratches and other imperfections, often increases due to their uniqueness. Errors make coins stand out in a collector's collection, and they have an added historical context, showing that these coins were produced during a time when minting procedures were not as advanced or flawless as they are today. Collectors of Washington quarters, particularly those looking for mint errors, are drawn to these types of coins because they represent rare occurrences in the production of U.S. currency. The presence of such an error, combined with the D-mint mark, places this 1979 quarter into a unique and valuable category. In today's auction market, a 1979 Washington quarter with the large date and D-mint mark error can command significant prices, especially if the condition of the coin is still relatively high despite the damage. Depending on the extent of the damage and the visibility of the error, these coins can range from $500 or even more if they are in especially good condition and properly authenticated. Coins that feature specific errors, like minting defects or misprints, often see an increase in value, especially when there's a strong demand from collectors seeking to fill gaps in their collections. The large date error coupled with the D-mint mark and scratches or damage on the reverse gives this coin a unique place in the market. Next up, we have a 1967 Washington quarter dollar that commands high value in the marketplace today. Unlike the earlier 1979 large date error coin, the 1967 quarter is an entirely different piece. This coin, minted without any mint mark, stands out for its historical significance and its design features, making it another desirable coin in the eyes of collectors. The 1967 Washington quarter was minted during a time of significant change in the United States, both politically and socially. This era saw the civil rights movement gaining momentum and the escalation of the Vietnam War. The coin itself, however, focuses on a much earlier symbol, the legacy of George Washington, the first president of the United States. The 1960s was a time when U.S. coinage was undergoing minor yet significant changes. While the Washington quarter design remained constant, the country was also in the process of moving away from using silver for regular circulation coins. The quarter was still made of 90% silver until 1964, after which the coinage composition changed to copper-nickel. The 1967 quarter, while still predominantly silver at 40% silver content, falls within the post-silver era, making it an important piece for collectors interested in silver-based quarters. As mentioned earlier, the Washington quarter features the familiar portrait of George Washington on the obverse, facing left. The reverse depicts an eagle perched on an olive branch and holding arrows. The inscriptions around the coin include United States of America and quarter dollar. What distinguishes the 1967 version from other Washington quarters is the lack of a mint mark. While quarters from this era were minted in multiple locations, the Philadelphia Mint produced quarters without a mint mark. The absence of the mint mark itself is significant for collectors, as it identifies this particular coin as coming from Philadelphia, rather than Denver or San Francisco. The mintage of the 1967 Washington quarter was considerable, with millions of these coins being produced and distributed throughout the United States. However, because the silver content was reduced starting in 1965, the 1967 quarter remains a silver coin, which gives it an added layer of interest for collectors seeking silver quarters. In terms of market value, the 1967 Washington quarter is typically worth between $89,000 in average circulated condition. However, in fine condition, where the coin still retains clear details on both sides and shows minimal wear, it could fetch prices higher than typical circulated examples. In higher grade condition, such as an MS-65 or better, the value can increase substantially, reaching upwards of $100,000. Coins that are free from significant flaws or errors but are in excellent condition can achieve premium prices, particularly if they represent a historical moment, such as a silver coin produced just before the composition change in 1965. The 1967 Washington quarter without a mint mark has strong collector interest due to its link to the larger context of American coinage. As a silver coin, it appeals to collectors who focus on acquiring coins made of precious metals. Additionally, its role in the timeline of the quarter's evolution, marking the transition from full silver content to base metal, adds an element of historical depth that makes it a desirable acquisition. Next up, the 1965 Washington quarter dollar coin, often referred to by collectors as the large date variety, holds significant value in the world of numismatics. This coin, which was part of the quarter series, carries with it not only historical importance but also several unique design elements that make it a must-have for collectors. In the early 1960s, the United States was experiencing a time of considerable change, both politically and economically. President Lyndon B. Johnson had taken office following the assassination of President John F. Kennedy in 1963, and the country was dealing with issues ranging from civil rights movements to the escalation of the Vietnam War. Amid this period of turmoil, the U.S. Mint was making significant changes to coinage, especially with the production of the quarter. The 1965 Washington quarter is especially significant because it marks a pivotal year in U.S. coinage history. It was the first year that the United States transitioned away from using silver in the composition of most coins, replacing it with a copper-nickel alloy. The change was implemented due to the rising cost of silver, which made the production of silver coins unprofitable. In 1965, the United States government decided to create quarters with a copper-nickel composition, a decision that would continue until the end of the 20th century. The Washington quarter design had been in circulation since 1932, commemorating the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. The 1965 Washington quarter features a full, striking design. The large date on the obverse is one of the key features collectors look for in the 1965 quarters. The large date refers to the size and positioning of the numerals in the date, which are noticeably larger than those found on other quarters of the same year. This subtle variation is an important distinguishing factor and has led to increased demand among coin collectors. On the reverse of the coin, we see a majestic eagle in mid-flight, grasping an olive branch and arrows in its talons. The words, "United States of America," are inscribed along the top, and "E pluribus unum" is at the bottom. This design is widely regarded as one of the more majestic representations of the U.S. eagle. The mintage of the 1965 Washington quarter was significant, but it was also the year when coin production was ramped up significantly due to the changes in coinage materials and the growing demand for quarters. A total of approximately 1.8 billion 1,965 quarters were produced. However, the large date variety is the one that has captured the attention of collectors. While most 1965 Washington quarters are relatively common, the 1965 large date variety, particularly in fine condition, has become a key player in today's auction markets. In fine condition, this coin's value can range from $78,000 depending on its specific quality and other factors. Coins with exceptional eye appeal or slightly better condition can see prices rise substantially, with some selling for over $89,000 at auction. The demand for these coins has only increased due to the rarity of certain variations and the condition of the coins being sold. As the population of well-preserved examples diminishes, collectors are willing to pay a premium for those in fine condition, as these coins represent a rare glimpse into U.S. coinage from a transitional period in the nation's history. While the 1965 Washington quarter generally does not have many major errors, some subtle differences in the strikes can make a coin more valuable. There are known examples of double die errors, where the design is doubled, especially in the lettering or the details of Washington's hair and cheek. Additionally, collectors pay attention to small variations in the strike quality, the clarity of the design, and any potential overpolishing of dies, which could result in unique coins that stand out from the standard 1965 quarters. The collector interest in this coin is high, particularly among those focusing on U.S. silver transition coins and errors. The 1965 Washington quarter is one of those coins that, while common in lower grades, has seen a resurgence in demand as collectors search for higher grade examples and the elusive large date variety. Thanks for joining us. Happy collecting!